Hey, how's it going everyone? Justin again as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about things that will affect your flag time. I know it's out there. It's got to be a hot topic. Let's talk about it. So, not just at the dealership, not just at the independent shop, but even things down to the lube and tire shop, you're always going to have something that's going to affect your flag time. What's flag time? That's the amount of time that they say that the job should take. Granted, it could take a little longer, it could take shorter. It's whatever ALLDATA, Mitchell, Chitlin, Identifix, or fucking ShopKey Pro has decided that this is what it's gonna be. It could be based off the manufacturer's recommendations, warranty times. You're given little timepieces for how much it's gonna take you time-wise to finish a job. So if an oil change comes in, it might be 0.3. They might pay you 0.5 to do a tire rotation. It might take you less time to do a tire rotation than an oil change, right? Because you got to drain, change the filter, clean it up, etc. Pull oil back in, start it up, turn it off, check the fluid. Whereas with tires, zip, zap, all the way around, rotate, zip, zap, all the way around, and then torque lug nuts. That's it. Some reason that pays more than an oil change. It's ridiculous. I know. Let's not get into that right now. What can also affect your flag time? Okay, one, parts. Parts is going to affect your flag time. Sometimes you're going to get something apart and the part's not going to be there. Maybe it's delayed. Maybe they have to bring it from an outside auto parts store because they don't have it in stock or inventory. Or maybe that's where you get your parts all the time, but the time it takes for that parts department to either give it to you or the parts auto stores to bring it to you is going to affect your time on that job. So it's always a good idea to never start the job unless you have the parts present. Because if you take something apart and you can't put it back together without putting the old shit back on, you're kind of stuck fucked and you got to move on to another lift. And if you've only got one lift to work on, you got to be pretty particular about what it is that you're putting on there. And always make sure you have all the stuff that you have. Sometimes you're going to run along the way, you're repairing something breaks. You can't avoid that. Things happen. And yeah, you might have to wait for it. But as a general rule of thumb, if you're doing shocks and the shocks aren't there yet, don't bring it in. It's taking up space. It's taking up a bay. You could be doing something else that's already there. Maybe you have an oil change and shocks. Okay, well I can't do the shocks because the shocks aren't here yet, but I can do the oil change because we have the oil and we have the filter. Bring the oil change in, get that done, road test it, park it, then start taking the shocks apart once they show up. Food for thought. Something else that's going to affect your flag time. People in the shop, other mechanics. You're going to find it. They're going to be assholes. They're going to they don't give a shit. They only care about their time. They might park behind you. They might park next to you. You might be waiting for a second road test or something like that for them to do whatever they got to do to park it. And they might say, hey, I heard this other little noise while I was on the road test, so you got to put it back in the lift and do it. So other mechanics and other people within the shop can slow you down as well. Approval. You're going to have to wait for approval sometimes. You might bring it in, recognize the problem right away, or maybe it takes you, 15 to 20 minutes to find the problem. You recognize the problem, now you have to wait for approval. So, again, it comes back down to like taking it apart and putting it back together. If you're waiting for approval and you're doing an oil change and you're waiting for approval on a brake service, you might just continue finishing the oil change and then go back in and ask them, bug them, put your voice in their ear until they're irritated if they haven't already got a hold of the customer and find out, hey, did we get approval for this? Because I'm trying to figure out, we still got to order parts have to come in, etc., etc. All right, I'm going to get on it. They get on it, they call them up. So approval can slow you down because you're waiting for the customer to confirm that they want that service done. Then you have to wait for parts department to bring it to you or for parts department to put it on the counter, whether you're working at a dealership or an independent shop. This kind of stuff, it happens. It happens. Then another thing that can affect your time as a mechanic or technician could also be forgetfulness, okay? It's not as big as some of the other stuff that I've already previously mentioned, but say you're doing a cylinder head job and you're flowing, the cylinder head's there ready to put back on, and then you run into a situation where you forgot you get down towards the end and you have like 3 or 4 bolts that you're like, where the hell did that go? So now you have to go backtrack yourself and figure out where those things went. So you always want to try to stay as organized as you possibly can. I know it can be difficult, especially if you're taking a lot of things apart, but try to stay as organized as you possibly can so everything kind of goes back smoothly. Other things that could potentially affect your flag rate is just going to be the amount of jobs you can do at the same exact time. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you're required to multitask. You have to work on multiple jobs at the same exact time in order to make up the time difference to get your flag hours. So say you've got 2 bays available or whatever. You're doing there's a car that comes in, you got an oil change, tire rotation, and transmission fluid and filter service, and on the other car, you have a flash update. Cool. So you pull the one car in that you have to do all this service work to, you pull the other car in to the next stall behind you if it's possible. If not, you pull it behind or as close as you can to that car, so that way you're only blocking yourself in. Do the flash update while you're draining the oil, while you're rotating tires, while you're trying to do the transmission fluid and filter service, then send the flash update out the door. Other times you'll be like, okay, I'm starting to drain the oil, flash update's done, I'm putting the plug in, I'm gonna change a filter, now I'm gonna start draining the trans, now I'm gonna run over here, and I'm gonna go ahead and swap out this airbag, now I gotta run back over here, and I gotta drop the pan and put the filter in, now I'm gonna run back over. It's a back and forth process. It gets to be ridiculous at a certain point when you're at the dealership, because they expect that. They expect fluid and flow. You've gotta move, 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 move. Independent shop, a little bit more slower pace because they don't want any mistakes, but similar. Okay, if you're still doing service work and you're waiting on parts like rotors, if you can't turn them and you have to wait for rotors and they're not in yet, you can nosedive something else behind it, pull into another stall, start the next car. I see it all the time where guys are waiting for parts and they'll just sit and wait. Time is money. So if you want to try to increase your hours or try to get other stuff done, just have that mindset. Next job, next job, next job. You know what I'm saying? So those are some of the things that can affect your flag rate. I'm sure there's some other things out there that could also affect your flag rate. If you know what they are, please feel free to put them down in the comments. Share with us your experiences on other things that I might not have covered in this video that could potentially affect your flag rate, and put them down there for the next guy. That's all I got for this video, guys. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. Thanks as always for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.